we're back for another Mission Impossible episode review. This time we're doing Season 1, Episode 28, the final episode of Season 1, which is called The Psychic. So we start out with Dan going to a drive-in movie lot for instructions. Drive-ins are making a comeback now. There was a time some years ago when I would have said drive-in, and a lot of people would have said, "What's that?" Uh, uh, Interestingly, when he goes in, you can catch it for just a second, where it says kind of on the marquee, Geller and Solo in "Spend the Money." Bruce Geller, of course, is the creator, and Herb Solo was the executive producer of the show. And it's just kind of an inside joke of how Desilu, the actual production company, which eventually got rolled into Paramount, felt about the show, because it was always going over budget. So just a note about that. Anyway, the mission is stop wealthy investor Alex Lowell from selling his shares of a company that makes important equipment for NATO, and eliminate his control over that company, which is called Sudero. Lowell has basically taken up shop in South America, where the American government can't reach him, and that's why the IMF has to get involved. Anyway, Dan selects the usual team minus himself, and includes a judge named Wilson Chase, who knows Lowell. He's well known around Washington, so the judge is aware of who he is. And as well, he's got an actor named Byron Miller. Dan tells the team that they have to get Lowell to endorse his stock certificates before they can be used. That's going to be important later on. And they're going to have to use the fact that Lowell is a compulsive gambler. The team demonstrates some of Barney's gadgetry, including a neato card switching arm and a funky mirror that will allow him to hide unseen. We cut to Lowell, who's playing gin with prospective stock buyer Jan Vornitz, at his South American villa. Byron shows up and says he represents a group and he's got a check for $80 million for Lowell's stock. Lowell tells him to get lost, but Byron says he'll be back. Vornitz is concerned about this, but Lowell tells him not to worry. The IMF sets up some decks of cards and reseals them for use later. Cinnamon has done a bunch of research on Lowell and his friends, and she attends a party at Lowell's place along with the judge, posing as Janet Marwood, a famous psychic. Barney finds his way to Lowell's garage and opens the hood of his car, rigging up an explosive. A guest comes outside, and Barney covers by saying he's just checking the battery, he's from the auto club or whatever. Byron crashes the party as promised and is rebuffed again. As he heads out, Byron tells Lowell he's living dangerously. The judge suggests that Cinnamon show off her psychic skills to the guests for some fun, and they assemble in the living room. Cinnamon displays her skills to the guests, and then the judge asks her to foretell something for Lowell, but she declines out of politeness to her host. The judge asks Lowell to drive him to the airport because he wants to have a chat, but Cinnamon stops him, saying that she saw an explosion in Lowell's future, including arches and a car, which perfectly describes Lowell's garage. The judge stops Lowell as he's about to start his car, saying that Janet knows what she's talking about, and Lowell rigs up a makeshift starter. Takes him a while to do that, and it seems like I wouldn't know how to do that, but whatever. And that causes a predicted explosion, allowing Barney to enter Lowell's lounge through a window and hide under a corner table. The party is over and the judge leaves, but Cinnamon stays behind, telling Lowell that she's sure that Miller will not try anything further. She also tells him that she sees through his lies and knows that he plans to sell his stock for profit, despite what he told the judge earlier. At the moment, Byron's dead body is found near the door, affirming what Cinnamon said earlier, and Rollin and Willie appear. Rollin introduces himself as Frank Davis, the leader of the group that Byron was involved in, and says he'll be back later, as Willie loads Byron's body in their trunk. Lowell's dog senses Barney hiding, and Cinnamon tells Lowell she can't concentrate and kind of see the future as she does, so he has the dog taken away from there, fortunately for Barney. She says that she sees Lowell playing cards with Frank Davis for the stock. Davis intends to cheat to win, but will lose. Lowell says he won't do it, but Cinnamon assures him that he will play, and he'll do it with Davis's cards too. After they leave, Barney sets up the card table with the switching arm and replaces Lowell's playing cards with the prepared ones. As he leaves the house, he runs into Lowell's heavy Ed, who has a shotgun pointed at him. Fortunately, Willie makes a save, and Ed heads back to the house empty-handed, with a broken piece of wood as evidence that Barney was in the card-playing room, the lounge. Lowell examines the cards and finds that the packages have been resealed, finds no markings, but discovers that some of the cards have been stripped for favorable deals. Vornitz is shocked that Lowell is considering playing cards with Davis after everything that's happened, but Lowell is confident that he's seen through the scheme, and Janet hasn't been wrong so far. Cinnamon returns later and confirms that Lowell will win. Rollin arrives and tries to buy the stock outright again, but the two decide to play a showdown hand for all the marbles. Rollin endorses his $80 million check, and to Vornitz's abject dismay, Lowell signs his stock certificates. Knowing that the deck is stacked, Lowell deals the second card to Rollin instead of the top one at the critical juncture, and as Janet predicted, Lowell wins. The card switching arm is used, allowing Rollin to switch the certificates for duplicates and pass them to Cinnamon, who hides them under her purse. Cinnamon leaves the room, and Rollin is bums rushed out of the house. Lowell discovers the switch, but too late as the IMF drives away. Mission accomplished. I'm going to give this episode a grade of B-. I actually had it lower, but as I was kind of reading the plot again, I adjusted my grade a little bit. There are some good things here. The gadgetry and Barney's role in this episode is really nice. I really love what Barney did with the mirror so that he can hide. That is visually really, really, really neat. And also that the card switching arm that he has is tremendously ingenious. As far as the plot goes, and the IMF plan, it's a very, very well executed Kansas City shuffle. If you're not familiar with that term, what that means is you're pulling a plot on somebody, and the whole point of it is you want your mark or your target to see through the plot or think that they've seen through the plot, but you're actually doing a whole other thing. So you're banking on the mark being smart enough to see through it, only you're misdirecting them at the same time. That's exactly basically what this plot is. That said, the actual execution of this episode, in terms of, watching it, the plan may be great, but I would say that the plot is kind of ordinary if you kind of follow my meaning. It's not terribly elaborate. It's sort of like it's almost like a Batman story in a sense, right? Where you're going up against a Batman villain and you know exactly what that villain is going to do and how he's going to react, and you just kind of have to take him through the steps in a sense. That's kind of what's going on here. So at the same time, you can say, wow, that's really neat and it's a really good plan, but I would say it's kind of a so-so plot as it unfolds, which is why I give it a B-. I hope that makes sense the way that I'm describing it. Also, Barry Sullivan, who plays Alex Lowell here, his delivery and his mannerisms are a bit deadpan for my liking. Again, I don't know. I wish he was maybe just a little bit more animated. It always seems like he's kind of talking with one tone of voice no matter what's going on. That turns me off a little bit. I think if had that been the case, had he been a little bit more animated, I think I probably would have given this episode a bit of a higher rating. The other guest stars are also kind of ordinary. So again, there's nobody who kind of rises to the top in a sense, or rises above, in order to give this episode a higher rating than a B- in my opinion. Anyway, that's all I have to say for this episode, and that's kind of a wrap for this season. Please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. We're still looking to get to 100 subscribers, which I hope we can get to soon. And please leave your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this episode and about Season 1 as a whole. I'm hoping that soon I'll be able to make a playlist out of Season 1, and we're going to continue forward into Season 2 and beyond. I very much look forward to that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.